Save the Semantics, episode 76. It is June 16, 2019. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I try to catch up of things that happened within the last couple of weeks. Mainly because I haven't really been able to sit down and record an episode. So it's been a little while. I've finished up my finals this past week, and now just kind of finally transitioning into my summer schedule where I'll be kept relatively busy with work and whatnot. I'm not really sure what there is to catch up on, but third year is in the books, moving on to my senior year, and then hopefully graduation. Pretty daunting, I could say. And then I gotta figure out everything else afterward. Figure out life and all that, and have some more responsibility, in a sense. It hasn't necessarily been that eventful, I guess. Just been concentrating on getting work done, so there hasn't really been a whole lot to it. Warriors lost, which is pretty disappointing, but there's not too much to dwell on there. I've just kind of been chilling for the most part this last couple of days, and just been working and all that. It hasn't really been it's been all right. I think going into the summer, you're sort of, at least from my perspective, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna plan all these things out, and then you realize that you don't necessarily have the time to do that, or the energy to do that, really. Planning for things, I've talked about this before, but planning for things can be kind of difficult, it involves coordination and all that. So I really haven't set forth and really done much as of late, but it's been fine. I've just kind of been enjoying my time off, I guess. I've been trying to, I've been kind of trying to get back into movies and stuff like that. I haven't really sat down and watched anything in a while. Of course, I've watched some TV shows here and there, but I haven't really sat down and invested my time into any particular show or movie by any sense. I did watch I watched one episode of the newest season of Black Mirror, which was called Striking Vipers, which is a pretty interesting episode. Kind of explores things, it was less, it felt less like, in comparison to a lot of the other Black Mirror episodes that I've seen, it was less I don't know, of course, it's depressing and stuff, and there's some dark moments, but I guess it wasn't as dark as some of the other episodes of Black Mirror. It wasn't as filled with despair, I think it was just kind of, the technology was not really the focal point of the episode. Of course, it was sort of the driving force behind the ideas of, what it was presenting, but it was less I don't know, it was less the whole technology is bad. It's it's just more it presented a sort of a different look at it, a way for which someone can explore their their fantasies and stuff like that. And it has to do more with I guess discussing just human, I don't know, tendencies, human wants and stuff like that. So it felt, it was definitely interesting for sure, and it was a little more, I guess, nuanced as in comparison to other episodes where it's just kind of full blown oh, this technology is the central point of the story. Well, I mean, it still kind of is. It's there for sure, but it's not really it's not. That's not what kind of hooks you into the episode. I recommend checking it out. It definitely has a lot more of a lighter tone as opposed to like maybe like season 1 and 2. Those like first seasons of Black Mirror are brutal, man. Like just like, you know, like the very first episode is just like that even doesn't really have to do a whole lot with like technology. And then, you know, season 2 you get like White, I think it was White Bear. White Bear is like my favorite episode, where it's just like this very like very fucked up scenario, and they sort of reveal everything at the end. That was probably my favorite. Yeah, I've never been like the most like invested with like Black Mirror, but you know, I think they bring up a lot of interesting like topics and stuff like that. There isn't really like there isn't like anything else that's really like that out there, you know, that sort of explores these different types of technological scenarios, and sort of like how, you know, how fucked up people are in general. So yeah, it's definitely like an interesting thing, kind of this TV phenomenon, I guess. But yeah, I'd recommend checking out that first episode. I don't know if I'm gonna sit down and watch the other ones, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, other than that, I just haven't really watched a whole lot. I've started watching the second season of One Punch Man. I was able to find, well, actually, someone recommended that I use this website to watch this show, because it's not really. I think Crunchyroll might be sponsoring, or like not sponsoring, but it might be hosting some episodes of One Punch Man, but it's pretty ad riddled, so I don't really want to use that. There's another service that I was able to use. It's technically like a pirate site, but yeah, I've been able to watch all of the newest episodes, which has been pretty good. Of course, like I think for those who don't know, one of the biggest criticisms that the newest season has is like the animation style, or just the animation in general. It's definitely a step down for sure. Like the quality in the animation has kind of fallen, but I feel like it's the story more than kind of makes up for it. I feel like the story and like the writing has always been pretty good for that show. Like it's not, like the whole point of the whole show is that it's like kind of like a parody and like a love letter to all these other shonen animes where it's just kind of full blown fights and all that, and then you just have a guy that who can just beat everything with one punch. Season 2 has been pretty good so far. I think the the first season was just sort of like an introduction to his character and stuff like that, and he had a couple of arcs, but this season kind of introduces a lot more characters and sort of explores their own kind of struggle with like power and their responsibility as being like a hero and stuff like that. So it's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it so far. If people say like if you're not a fan of anime, they would still recommend it, but I mean, I don't know, like I think there's still like a lot you can appreciate with these types of shows, like just I think the effort, even if the animation quality isn't as up to par as like the first season, you can still kind of appreciate the effort that kind of goes into these things, like these massive projects that take years to make. So there's definitely something to take into account there for sure. What else have I been doing? Just kind of spending my time just online, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been it's been interesting. I'm trying to get back into reading now that I finally have some time on my hands. Like, I don't know if I will. But I might try to kind of step my foot back into. I don't know what kind of reading. Like, I sort of jotted down some ideas of like things that I might want to read. Like, I don't know if I want to read like a full-blown book at this point, just because like I just don't know if I have the if I have the mental capacity to like sit down and read an entire book. But yeah, we might get there, Unfortunately, like the last book that I read, I didn't even finish it, which was Stand on Zanzibar. I talked about that like several, like a few months back. And I just, yeah, I think I got to a point with the book. Like, I still think it is a good book for sure, but I got to a point where I just kind of, my interest in it just started dwindling, and I sort of saw like I felt like the ending wasn't really going to be as satisfying as I would have wanted it to be. Like, I just didn't get to the end. Um, I was kind of anticipating sort of a specific ending to the book, and like I was just kind of like, yeah, I think I got the gist of it. I got a lot of the themes, the ideas behind the book, and I'm still kind of able to appreciate it for sure. Um, when I was younger, I kind of tried to like force my way to like reading through a book, and I realized that that just kind of took away, the general enjoyment of reading the book. So I felt like I don't really have to force myself to read something that I don't want to. It's the same thing with like any movies or games and stuff like that. It's just there's no real point in just trying to force myself to finish something when I just have no general enjoyment of it. It was kind of a similar thing with like what was it? I had this one video game. I'm a pretty big fan of like JRPGs and stuff like that. And I had this. I still think I have it. I had this one JRPG called The World Ends With You, and I heard it was like a pretty highly acclaimed video game. So I picked it up and I tried to play it, and I just could not, for the life of me, I just could not get into it. I thought the soundtrack wasn't really all that good, and I just lost interest. And that kind of thing just happens. Where you just sort of have to, you're just like, you don't have to enjoy something just because you kind of purchased it. It sucks, but like it is what it is. I think the biggest mistake I've ever made when it came to like a purchase and investing my time into something was back in middle school. I was like so excited to like get NBA 2K10, I think. I was a pretty avid basketball fan, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be my first like basketball video game. That's when I still had a Wii. Well, I still think I have the Wii. I just I don't use it anymore. But back when I used to play it more often, I wanted to purchase NBA 2K10 for the Wii, and what I didn't realize is that the graphical quality, or just like the general quality of the game, is so much worse in comparison to its console competitors like Xbox and the PlayStation. Just like the the graphical capabilities of the Wii were just so much worse than either of those two consoles. So when I purchased the game, I put it in, and then I tried to play it, and it was such a shitty and stupid mistake. I should have done a little more research, considering how much I wanted that game. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to play this. And then when I finally started to play it, I'm like, this is, I tried my best to enjoy it, but I just couldn't. It was just so terrible. They tried to incorporate like motion controls into the game for some fucking reason. Like, it's not like when you shoot you kind of just you flick the Wiimote, and it was so terrible. Like, it wasn't registering certain things, and like, oh my god, it was such a stupid like, I mean, I was younger, so I didn't really like, I could have done, I mean, I knew things like IGN and like GameSpot and like all these other reviewing websites, but I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna get this game because I want to. And I learned my lesson there for sure. I still think I have it. I mean, I can't sell it. Like, nobody's gonna fucking buy that. Like, it's at most I could probably sell for like $2. Nobody really nobody really plays Wii anymore, and the last thing anyone's gonna play is 2K10 on the Wii. So, yeah, pretty unlikely that I'll be selling that, but I'll just keep it as a replica of my mistake of purchasing a game that I had no real idea of what to expect, I guess. But yeah, just kind of going back to what I was saying before, I'm gonna try to get back into reading whatever there is out there. I'm not entirely sure what I would want to invest my time into. I'm still kind of trying to I'm just still trying to figure out what exactly I want to do with my free time and stuff like that. I want do I want to watch a TV show and stuff like that. I think that's something that I have to kind of figure out. It's not even that big of a deal, but it's just something I have to figure out as time goes along. It's what kind of content do I want to put my time into? Is there something interesting or something challenging that I would want to watch, I guess. Just because I just haven't really had the time or the energy to really sit down and watch any particular TV show or anything like that. I've just kind of been, watching older stuff, something that's comforting, just something that's not super challenging, something that I can still have some enjoyment out of, as opposed to kind of just, like I said, forcing my way watching it, So yeah, we'll see how that goes. There were some things that I jotted down, I guess, that I kind of wanted to talk about, but I don't know. It's sort of I don't know if these ideas are even really that interesting. I've been kind of going to Panda a lot recently, and I think that that was kind of during the last couple of weeks. Now I've sort of taken a break from it just because I've had it way too much. But one of the things that's funny, but is their tagline is it's a family-owned business, and I think a lot of companies try to do that, or a lot of corporations try to sell themselves off as family-owned. I mean, which is not untrue, right? There's a family of shareholders at the very top, probably, or maybe the original creators of the business was family owned, but I don't know, it's just kind of funny, it's not very genuine in a sense. I know companies like Welch is a farm stand juice company. It's no, you're not one of those things. You're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, that sells hundreds and thousands of different types of juices and stuff. Don't try to sell yourself as this label yourself as this we used to be we used to sell juices along the side of the road. Maybe 200 years ago or something, don't don't try to sell yourself as this sort of local and hipster kind of thing, I mean, that's not exactly what they do. It's just I just think it's funny how they label themselves as a family-owned business. Like I said, which is not untrue. It's just, it's just kind of misleading because it's not necessarily the whole picture. You could say it's owned by multiple people. There's multiple shareholders at the top, but it's not. It's not some down-to-earth family that is owning that restaurant or restaurant chain or food product. That's just not how it is. I just think it's funny how they sort of label themselves like that. And it's not the consumer really gives a shit. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna still go to Panda Express and buy their orange chicken, right? It's not that really takes away anything. It's not they've committed any scandals recently. I'm probably going to jinx it. It's going to be found out that they have chloroform in their food or something like that within the next couple of weeks. So that's going to be cool, right? It's just kind of funny how these companies sort of label themselves to be, much more than they actually are. But yeah, that's that. That was just sort of an idea that I had down when I was just having some orange chicken the other day. I was, during the NBA commercials or NBA commercials during the NBA finals, there's just so many I've mentioned this previously too. I've talked about commercials a little too much recently, but I've just realized that how many commercials there are on cable and stuff, and it's just it's no wonder people are no wonder like purchasing it at all. Like we don't have cable. We have like a streaming service, but it still airs like the same content as the normal cable shows. But like it's just so many like commercials. Like I just don't. It's just crazy, That's just sort of how things run, I guess. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I should do a little more research into how those things operate. I forgot to do this the last time. I forgot to recommend like a song or an album. So I'm gonna just do that right now. Let's see. What have I been listening to? I haven't really been listening to a whole lot recently. Let's see. I'm just kind of going through my Apple playlist right now, or my Apple Music. There's this album that I enjoyed a little while back. It's called Legacy by Jamila Woods. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's an R&B kind of R&B soul album, and I've kind of been listening to that a little bit. I definitely recommend checking it out just because like it's like, I mean, a lot of other albums do this, of course, but it's a little different in the sense that it's much more like introspective and like I'm trying to look for it. Like, did I delete it? Like, where the hell is it? Jamila Woods, there it is. It's called Legacy. And in comparison to some other like R&B, like, I don't know, soundtracks or R&B songs, I guess it's a little more introspective. Talks about her own like just struggle with like herself, and talks about sort of like her ancestral background and all the generations that have kind of led up to her existence, I guess. That's sort of my interpretations on like some of the songs. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's very like the song structure is pretty like unconventional. Like they kind of go from like they're not very like, they're not very like smooth kind of R&B jazz kind of thing. Like there's a couple of those types of songs, but it's a little different. It's a little more I guess experimental in a sense. So yeah, that's going to be my recommended album of the week. And yeah, that's probably going to do it for today. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.